Once again, warm welcome to our I2E Knowledge Series Meet the Founder. And super glad to have you here, Divya.
Thank you.
And
Super happy to be here too.
yes, so maybe before we start, it'll be great if you can give a quick intro about yourself and your organization. That'd be great.
Okay. PaperTrail, I mean, I can't say PaperTrail. I started about 12 years ago in the year 2008 when a very similar situation I can't even say similar situation, and a global recession was going on in 2008 and businesses were shutting down
Right.
and people were losing jobs. And I had several people come and ask me for help, several women, uh, talking to me about how badly they were doing. And that's when I resurrected this idea that I'd had 10 years prior to that
Okay.
of collecting newspaper from houses and giving it to these women to make paper bags,
Great.
and I would sell it for them.
Right.
Their problem was that they couldn't leave home and they don't have the marketing skills. So we
Right.
began like that in 2008.
Right.
And where we stand now, we've moved on from, we started with newspaper bags. We've moved on from newspaper bags to handmade paper bags,
Right.
boxes, lanterns, notebooks, pens, literally anything and everything in paper if it can be produced.
Right.
And if it's possible by us, we do it, because most of these things are within our production process. And our what can I say? The workforce is mostly women,
Right.
and now we have men as well who can't leave home. So they're either in shelter homes, convents, jails, places like that. Mostly. So we do the cut, print, and pre-process in-house, and then we have a central warehouse in Tevra,
Right.
which acts as our administration office and like our central warehouse, and it's the kind of the hub that connects the customer and all these different units lying all over Kerala. So that's what we do. I'm not even talking about post-corona what, but
Maybe
uh,
we'll come to that a little bit
that
later. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So that's basically in a nutshell what we do. The aim of our organization was to empower women financially first, and I always believe that a woman, if she has money, she always does. She has a lot more power, and she has always does the right thing. She seldom does wrong things with her money. And
Right.
when you put power in the hands of a woman, you're empowering an entire family,
Right.
the children, the husband, so many various things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a little brief about us.
Absolutely. So maybe if we can go back to the journey where you started. I've seen you sharing this story in a TED talk as well. How this idea actually came about. What was the story behind the real inspiration that you started out
Yeah.
10, 12 years back. I've heard a little bit about
Yeah.
that story actually, but would love to hear that. What was the inspiration? How did the idea came about, and what was the journey throughout as well, over the last 12
Okay.
years, I would say.
So the story wise, I never intend. We're kind of a different story than everyone else who started out with a vision, a mission, with a plan, and they want to succeed, and they drop. We're very different from that in the sense that I never intended to start. I only had this idea about. I was one day in Bangalore, just reading the newspaper, and I saw this paper bag workshop in
Right.
somewhere in the intestines of Bangalore. I can't even remember the name, but I just remember it was really, really far, and it was this not at all within city limits, but kind of
Outskirts.
funny place.
Right.
Yeah. So I attended this workshop and I learned how to make one bag from there. And then I came back and I thought, okay, I had this idea in my mind that I wanted to come back to Cochin and have, collect newspaper from houses and give it to underprivileged women to get them to make bags.
Right.
So that was the basic idea. I came back to Cochin and I just got on with my regular life. I went on to have three children, and I don't have to tell you what that's like. That's pretty much like someone put you in a mixie and forgot to turn it off. So you don't really think about, about making paper bags at that time.
Right.
But somewhere along the way, uh, I had, by the time it was 2008, and I'd finished kind of raising my kids. At least they were not toddlers anymore. But I went to visit a house, one of my friends, and I normally don't eat anything from outside, but that particular day I asked for a cup of tea,
Right.
and she said there's no milk left. And then, so I said, that's okay. But she went in, she made tea, and then she came and told me, Paalilla, we haven't bought milk for a long time. And so then began the story of how her husband's business had to shut down, and her children are small, so she couldn't pick up a job outside of the home because those days school timings were like one child leaves at 7 and comes back at 12, another
Right.
child leaves at 9 and comes back at 3. So the mother is just stuck at home the whole time. So she said, we've all been asking you to do something for us. So then I figured that there are at least five, six of my friends and acquaintances like that. And we decided that night, I don't think I slept. I came back and thought of my three children. I'm force feeding milk, and then they'll drink a little bit and then they'll chuck it. And,
Right.
so I came back and I resurrected this old newspaper bag idea that I had. And I called them the next morning. I said, listen, I'll collect the newspaper. So these are women who can't go out. They're not good at talking to people. They're not good at marketing. They can do what they're taught because
Right.
they're all within that framework, that societal framework of what a woman should be, like in the kitchen kind of thing. So, and I didn't want to upset their social situation either. So I gathered newspaper, gave it to them. We started making bags. Somewhere about 4 5 years down the line. So we didn't have a name called PaperTrail or anything. So because remember, I didn't even want to start. I mean, there was no intent of
Right.
becoming a business. It was completely non-profit because newspapers were donated by people, and whatever money I got from selling the bags, I would give it to them. So we formed our own system those days, where a little chit is written with that week's production, and
Right.
then we keep these chits. At the end of the month, they get paid, stuff like that. We made our own little systems over the years, maybe about 4 5 years down the line, we were doing like 8,000 bags a month, not a year, okay, a
Right.
month turnover. And somebody wrote about us saying Diwia Thomas of the newspaper bags. I'm like, I don't even make one bag with my hand. So that's when I decided to give a name to this thing. And so I'd asked my friends and my family, actually, I asked emailed that write up to the rest of my family saying, hey guys, look at this, what happened to this harebrained scheme of mine. And I said, I need a name for this. And everyone started, replying. And my sister, who's a graphic designer, said, don't anyone help her. She'll behave like she's buying a Kanjipuram sari and she'll take forever to make up her mind. And the next email that came in, someone said paper trail. And just to prove my sister wrong, I said, yeah, okay, paper trail, that's it.
Right.
And we have about five, six designers in our family. So I asked them, okay, now which one of you are going to do me a logo? And my sister said, now that's a trick question. I'm your sister, and so obviously I have to volunteer first. I said, well, I think yeah, it's like obvious. And then the thing is, when it's your younger sister, you can't even change the color. You can't move any font. You can't do anything because you'll hear a earful. So whatever she gave me is the logo. It still remains. I've not dared to even touch a thing on
Right.
it. I. It also goes to tell the rest of you that you can probably think about how much is there really in a logo
Right.
and how much is there really in a name. If your work should speak for you.
Right.
And people recommended us left, right, and center. People still recommend us. We're still happy to be one of the nicer box makers and the nicer bag makers in Kerala.
Right. So I think it is a great effectual way of actually putting together a name and also a logo. I know people who spend a lot of money and time and everything in putting together the name and logo and everything, but this has been a super effectual way of actually building a brand, I would say. After paper bags, when you decided to build boxes, also I've seen your boxes are very super nice, and you also briefly mentioned about your customers in one of our conversations as well. How did that transition happen, and how did you actually identify the need for those kind of bags and your customers? How did you find your first customer like that?
Okay.
How did you start selling?
So I think I should title my journey "The Accidental Entrepreneur," because nothing I never intended any of this to happen. But the one thing that we follow in Paper Trail is we don't say no to anything. We don't say no to anybody. Sorry. So people used to ask us, like from newspaper bags, the customer we were selling newspaper bags to asked us one day, she's selling jewelry, precious, semi-precious jewelry, and she wanted something better than a newspaper bag.
Right.
So she said, "Can you like develop something?" And that's when I went searching for handmade paper. I went to Jaipur. I backpacked to Jaipur actually on the pretext of visiting my sister who was just having her
Right.
first child. So on that pretext, I took a backpacking journey to Jaipur. That's another story. But to answer your question, one of the customers asked us, we want like a box like this, and it was a wedding, I remember. And they said, she's from Bombay. And you know how such beautiful boxes you get in Bombay. She says, "You get nothing here, Divya. Can you like make me something?"
Right.
So I sat down and I drew it on a piece of paper, and I got one of the girls to actually cut it out, measure it out, and cut it out. And lo and behold, our first box was made all by hand and it
Right.
seemed to work. Then I realized there are things called, then, and of course, I always believe there are so many people who stand in your path to help you. There were so many printers and I don't know, so many people that we were associated with the bags. There'll be some Chetan in some printing kara who will tell you, "Other, you want a die maker? Okay, I'll get you a die maker." So from one die maker, then we went to another box maker to it just went from vendor to vendor, supplier to supplier. We just got connecting the dots.
Right.
Of course, I searched for them because I kept searching for how can I make more boxes. One handmade box takes 3 hours to make,
Right.
whereas one die cut box you can do like 10,000 in an hour. So there's always that quest to make it easier and to make it more profitable, where people can get paid more. And there's always the number one quest is always to make it more beautiful,
Right.
because if yours is the most beautiful box,
Right.
you're the best in the industry. Then
Right.
you don't have competition if you're the best, if yours is the most beautiful.
Hmm.
So that was always the quest.
Right. So,
So that's how we learned to make boxes. And then from boxes came, just to continue on that line, came lanterns. Right after boxes came lanterns.
right.
A Marwadi friend of mine called me and said, I have to conduct this Diwali party, and my husband's chosen this venue in a hotel. The floor is black, the walls are black, the ceiling is black, the sofas are black, and Diwali has to be full of color. And my mother-in-law is going to just land up on that day, and I have no idea how I'm going to transform this. Can you? She said, "Can you help me?" I was on my way to a wedding. I was passing by the hotel. I said, "Let me take a look at the place." I just, quickly jumped out of the car, took a look at the place, and I said, "I too have no idea, but I'll think about it. Whatever it is, will you jump off the cliff with us?" She said, "Listen, either I jump off the cliff or nothing else. So I'll do whatever you say,
Right.
whatever you want me to do." So we came back. I came back home and I thought of this idea. We made lanterns. You'll probably be putting up one of those pictures in the later on.
Right.
We just bent colored translucent sheets of colored paper, put a print on it, wrapped it around a circular base, put a lamp in it. We filled that black hall with four colors, like 100 lanterns,
Right.
and the rest is history. We became lantern maker, and even
Right.
now for event companies, we make lanterns.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with that, I'll quickly, since you have briefly touched upon that, how does your team or the people in your organization look like, and where are these boxes being made? How many units do you have, and how was that growth journey, the path was like that, and also, next maybe probably I'll ask the question next.
So most of the ladies who work for us I'll always say us, okay? I never say me because I know I'm probably the smallest part of Paper Trail, and they actually call, it's like a chain,
Right.
you're linking people.
Right.
So you're not anybody without each other.
Right.
And something else I tell my team is you're as strong as your weakest link. I always say that.
Right.
So one second, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I always say that. So most of these ladies, they live in shelter homes, jails. Most of them don't have the exposure we have
Right.
to pretty things. They don't even know. They don't have a concept of what the end product is supposed to be or behave, or even they don't have the concept of that final lantern sitting in a wedding, on a table. They don't have that concept.
Right.
So, and there's another thing I know about humans is they're all trainable. And the human mind is also patternic. It's
Right.
trainable and it's patternic. So if you just so I train only one unit to make, let's assume, lanterns. That
Right.
unit will continuously make only lanterns, just so that we'll have less quality issues. They'll have less issues dealing with this. And you
Right.
must remember that all these units are not in our office. They're all lying spread out all over Cochin. So
Right.
thanks to WhatsApp, I have to say a huge thanks to the guy who made WhatsApp. So we formed this system where every morning before 9 a.m., before they come to their seat, I would have already drawn on a piece of paper or put a WhatsApp message as to what is their production for today. And
Right.
maybe it's something that they haven't made before. I'll just draw it out and then I'll put a voice note or something saying that, can you just try doing it like this? So they'll
Right.
try, then they'll send me a video of the edges and I'll say, "ആ edge ശരിയായില്ല ചേച്ചി അതിനെ ഒന്ന് ഇങ്ങനെ ആക്കാവോ അങ്ങനെ ആക്കാവോ." So they'll actually finish prototyping over WhatsApp in just like 1 hour flat, and then they're ready for production.
Right.
Rest of the day, that's what they'll be making.
So basically, all the
So
people that people in this group, all of the people are distributed across Kochi, and you coordinate
yes,
using WhatsApp, and then give them raw
yes,
materials, and then collect the lanterns once they're
yes.
finished. Right. Okay, understood.
Yes.
So
That was in the initial couple of years,
right.
and then now in-house we have now there's of course we've grown. So in-house we have a team of 8 people.
Right.
There's a dispatch manager. There's a designer. Of course, the accountant, the most important person,
Right.
uh, with so much of material coming in and out.
Right.
The accountant's the boss actually.
Right.
And then of course the driver who also doubles up as the production guy, because
Right.
he's the one who has to go to various collaborators and explain to them what we want.
Right.
He may even have to sort of align how the dies are set before
Right.
they're punched, things like that.
Right. Okay. So, Divya, maybe so we've touched upon most of the aspects, and I have a two-part question here about your customers. One is who are your customers? Where are they right now? Are they in Kochi or around Kerala? Who are your customers? Second part of that question is a little bit in terms of the partnerships that you're looking at, not per se customers per se, but at this point in time, if someone from our network, or if you're looking at a certain partnership or collaboration, what point to the point, who would you like to partner with, or associate with at this point in time? So customers, partnerships.
Okay. So as far as customers go, we'll probably have to divide them into several segments. I told you we don't say no to anybody.
Right.
And one good thing of not saying no to anyone is that when one industry goes down, the other industry is always there to hold us up. So
Right.
we've kind of spread our eggs in different baskets. For example, when the floods came, tourism went down, and one big segment that we supply to are hotels.
Right.
So for the hotels, we have regular stuff, which could be stationery, pens, carry bags, ordinary carry bags, your takeout bag. And for the hotels, we also have a premium segment of gift boxes, cake boxes, chocolate boxes.
Right.
that kind of segment as well.
Right.
So there's two segments there. But when they went down, like perhaps after the flood, we had another segment that kept us up. So we have like there were events, for example, events and is another prime segment of ours for a wedding. Generally, for one day, Kerala is a destination wedding place, and for one wedding, we normally it's normally 3-4 days. So per day, we will have dispatches going out. Maybe one day it's lanterns, the next day it could be table decorations. On the final day, it may be the entire backdrop. It may be like paper butterflies for the backdrop, or
Right.
flowers, paper flowers, all kinds of things, all kinds of things.
Right.
We've even done this. I think probably the largest thing we've done so far, as far in the event segment, was 18 feet high lanterns made with 36,000 discs of metallic paper. It's like hanging from an atrium. So it's hanging from the first floor till the midway to the ground floor. Only 18 numbers of them. Well, those are challenging projects, but yeah. So that's one segment, and
Right.
then we have we have a whole segment of home bakers. That's another big segment.
Right.
As you know, home cooking is becoming popular. People don't want restaurant food as much. So when
Right.
they're sending gifts to people, they like to order with a home baker. So we make gift boxes, hampers for the home bakers,
Right.
and I give, and I can actually tell how much with every passing year during Christmas time. I can actually quantify how much of market segment the hotels are losing to home bakers.
Right.
Just because they're cooking with real butter and
Right.
stuff like that. So
Right.
that's one segment we have. Now we also have large corporates come to us to make their packaging, but that's commercial packaging.
Right.
That's just basically print, cut, and paste. That boxes, the stuff like that. So
Right.
that we have a spread of fairly good spread of customer
Right.
types. And then what was your second question?
Second question was around partnerships. Particular. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a difficult question to answer. Um, it's a difficult one to answer. I
So if so,
actually I don't partner well with anybody because
okay.
I think I work too fast, and I
Right.
think I work too hard and too long. It's difficult, and my decisions are very quick
Yeah.
because most
Maybe
of what
so maybe I can rephrase
yeah.
and ask you, like, right now, is a particular segment that you're targeting. Someone maybe a particular segment at this point in time.
Okay, no, but I will answer that. I will answer that question. I have been thinking very often
Right.
of retiring from this space. It's been 12 years, and I think I've put in yeoman service, and I'm thinking it's probably time to hang up my boots. And I've
Okay.
been wanting to do a lot of other philanthropic works, which
Right.
actually isn't happening now because I'm too involved in GST and compliance and
Right.
government related things. It takes the complete joy out of doing a job like this. The joy I get from doing this was every day you walk into office seeing beautiful things, pretty papers and ribbons and things, and of course meeting all the ladies and giving them a word of hope for the future, because most of my ladies are from battered backgrounds. So just cracking jokes,
Right.
and the way I've been talking to you,
Right.
Jibin.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like every two sentences is a joke. So I've been thinking sometime along the way, the whole of Paper Trail, I might want to just give it away to somebody. It
Understood.
could, because running Paper Trail is not rocket science. It's such a simple thing. I mean, it's not rocket science at all. And there's a system in place as well.
Right.
Along the line, I've been thinking I might just sell the whole thing and just
Understood.
go back to doing philanthropic work, because I always want to go back to doing philanthropic work.
Understood. Okay. So
I haven't decided.
so maybe so one last question in this segment. I don't want to call it mistakes, obviously, but what are the some of the learnings that you've had over the 12 years, or some of the things that if you were to do it all over again, that you would have done differently? Some of the key learnings from your journey over the last 12 years, something that comes to your top of your mind, that you may be able to share.
First, at the first thing that I would say is don't be emotional about making business decisions. It could be, for me, every box that I make is literally like my child. So discontinuing a product is an emotionally difficult thing. Even if it's a loss-making product, there have been several products I have kept. We have about 150 products that we make exclusively,
Right.
and there are several of them. Even though it's not viable, I have kept it. I have kept the line going.
Okay.
I wish I hadn't done that. Some of them yeah. Now I'm older now, so these days it's like, stop that right
Okay.
now.
Right. Okay, great. So with that, we come
Maybe
to, sorry.
some of the other learnings, maybe Jibin, maybe if it will benefit other people who are listening to this, it would be if you like few takeaways probably for people who are listening to this in my journey would be always be on top of the game. Always don't ever be caught lagging, don't ever be caught dragging.
Right.
There are times when your business will either plateau or do well. So you have to remember that I started in a recession time, which means after the recession comes the up side of the graph,
Right.
which means business was exponential. It was just booming, 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 booming
Right.
till we came to the India shining years. So you can imagine it needs more funds, it needs more people, it needs more ideas. Uh, be on top of the game. Don't be dragged by this.
Right.
You need to think ahead. That's going to happen. You need to have that vision. That's
Right.
going to happen. I got to prepare for it now.
Absolutely.
That's one thing. Yeah, don't wait for something to explode in your face. For example, in our just a small example, our peak season is December, when
Right.
gifting mostly happens.
Right.
To be able to be price, to be able to give a good price for a box in December, I have to purchase in September.
Right.
And if I have to purchase in September, I should have some idea of what the trends are, what colors people are buying, what kinds of things people are giving. And then I have to find manufacturers of paper. They're dotted all over India. I have to find a paper at the right price and
Right.
then purchase it and have it in the office latest by September end. And then we begin our prototyping, and then from prototyping we go to production, and then we do the marketing, and then by December end we're sold out. So it requires a lot of planning in advance.
Right.
So yeah, don't be caught. Don't wait for something to explode. Don't wake up in December morning saying, "Oh, I need Christmas profits." No, no. You have to start. You have to make some kind of money. You have to start early.
Planning is the key words.
And
Right.
then yeah,
Right.
you have to start. You have to have. But I guess that's also probably because I'm a woman. I think women are like this. We're just worrying kinds. We worry about everything. If the crow is flying, we're worrying about the crow flying. It's like that. Then another thing I'd like to say is be on top of your numbers. At any given point of time, even at midnight, if someone had to wake you up, you should know your losses and your profits, and you be on top of your numbers. You have to, even if something's making a loss or there's an income leak somewhere,
Right.
you got to know it. Don't live in denial. You got to
Right.
know it and be on top of those numbers. And also, when once you have the numbers in front of you, you'll know how to project, how to work your way around these losses to get to the profits. Because customer behavior keeps changing. You
Right.
have to you have to make the opposite.
Right.
You understand what I
Be on
mean?
top of your game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Sure.
yeah, be on top of the numbers.
So with that, we'll come to the end of this segment, and we quickly transition to the next segment, which is called as Photowalk, where we have a couple of photos from your journey. So we'll quickly go through one by one, and maybe if you can share your memory about that picture, and also if there is a specific inflection point that happened alongside, that'd be great to cover that. So this is
I'm ready. Yeah.
okay. So Divya, this is the first picture.
So the for that picture is when we were doing only newspaper bags. That picture was shot when we were doing only newspaper bags and we needed a photo for our website.
Right.
So basically, I'm from a web strategy background. I used to write content
Right.
and with a focus on web strategy. So I knew how to put up a website. That was also a plus point. And this was a photo shoot we did. No fancy photographer. That's just my DSLR camera. And my in my cousin's house, she had a lawn that looked as if it was using conditioner and shampoo every day.
Right.
So, so we decided to use that lawn, and then there were these flowers lying around in her house, and we put that there. And so basically, that picture shows all the different sizes of bags we can make with
Right.
newspaper.
Right.
And there's one bag which is branded, so which
Okay.
is also showing the customer how you can brand a bag,
Awesome.
how you can brand a newspaper bag.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
that shot.
So now we have the second picture.
So this is probably one of my favorite pictures.
Right.
It was shot for the Indian Express. They did a write up on us,
Right.
and that's Asha in the black sari and Asha Geeta and Elsie Chechi. They're from Fort Cochin. We had a workshop with Janamaitri Police in Fort Cochin. There were about 60 participants.
Right.
You know, Fort Cochin is a melting pot of culture. So there were Hindus, Muslims, Christians. You know, at Fort Cochin, people don't care what religion, caste, creed, or color you are. Everybody just loves each other. Everybody just lives together, kind of thing. And we had this workshop, newspaper bag workshop for them. Out of that, these three ladies decided to form a cluster by themselves, and I helped them do it.
Right.
Asha is a widow. She didn't. Her husband passed away, and the documents of her house was with the bank.
Right.
And Elsie Chechi and Geeta, although they're pretty well off, decided to help her by
Right.
creating this cluster, and they started taking orders. And if they need any help, they would come back to us. And then finally, I started placing my orders with them,
Okay.
and and they were selling back to me.
Right.
And Asha eventually was able to take the land documents back from the bank,
Awesome.
which is good news. So that's
Awesome.
one
Yeah.
of my favorite pictures. Yeah,
So this is
they had a great way of having putting that thing together.
right. So this is a third picture.
Yeah. That was when I was invited on TED to do a TED talk.
Right.
I'm basically somebody who's very focused on what needs to be done and my work and stuff. So I'm not so much into publicity and things like that. So one day I got this call saying, "Ma'am, we'd like you to give a talk. This is TED, and they're explaining TED and everything, and I can't even hear because I'm holding the phone and I'm busy writing and making some quotation. I'm so busy with that I can't even understand what this girl is saying.
Right.
After a long, I'm like, and then suddenly I realized, like, did she just say TED? Like, I'm like, did she just say TED? I'm like, can you repeat what you said?
Right.
And yeah, that's myself giving the TED talk
Right.
7, 8 years ago, I think. And our company has gone leaps and bounds after that TED talk. So that TED talk was pretty irrelevant as we speak.
This is something that
Because we've
actually
gone on.
comes up first in Google search. Also, if someone says searches your name, I've been doing some research, and also this is the
Yeah.
first video that actually pops up. Yeah.
Okay. The thing is that at that time we were still doing only bags.
Right.
And eventually we've now grown into box maker and all kinds of other things. So
Right.
we've grown
Right.
much since then.
So this is the fourth image.
Yeah. So as you all know, I don't know whether everyone wants to admit it, but I say it openly. This country has been in recession since the beginning of last year, and I think a good place to test whether what I'm saying is right would be the bag maker, right?
Right.
If people aren't buying carry bags, they're not shopping,
Right.
and if they're not shopping, it's because they don't have money. So then there's something wrong with that, or at least there's something to that. So over the last 1 year, we witnessed a steep nosedive
Right.
in people's buying patterns and the kind of things they're buying. So we decided we have to have to expand. And actually, instead of this picture, it should have been the compostable bag,
Okay.
because then we started having towards the end of last year, 2019.
Right.
There were these conversations about banning of plastic bags and going more towards making Kerala state more eco-friendly.
Right.
So that's when paper has limitations. It can't hold water, it can't hold wet things. So compostable made of cornstarch seems to be the answer. In many ways,
Right.
you need raw material producers XYZ. So we went into compostable products, that is compostable garbage bags, and we've created our own brand called Green Trail.
Okay.
And we're only distributors of this product.
Right.
In fact, yet again, I didn't go searching for this. Like, I don't know why we don't intend all these things to happen, but it's just happening.
Right.
They actually found us, and then I think they found that our network was good. Our connections with the industries, different industries, was very good. So
Right.
they chose us to be their distributor.
Right.
And this is from that same company. This is their latest product. It's a very um, cheap, rather cost-effective face shield
Right.
for COVID times.
Right.
And it used to have to wear a mask inside, but the shield is there to prevent your staff from touching their face. Mostly for counter staff like banks and supermarkets and shops. So the
Right.
counter staff are wearing this, but you still touch your face and you hold your phone. So this way, all of that, your body is protected from that. So
Understood.
this is the last of the.
Sure. So this is the
Okay.
next image.
Yes. Okay. That is okay. That's um, woman entrepreneur of young woman entrepreneur award of the year.
Okay.
Young, note the young. Okay. So, if by Unique Times, they had awarded me the Young Woman Entrepreneur Award for that year.
Okay.
Young Woman Entrepreneur for Business Excellence or something like that. Something
Okay.
like that. Yeah. Truth
And
be told,
so-
I'm hoping they're not going to listen to this. I actually forgot that I had to go receive that award till they called me and said, "Ma'am, are you anywhere nearby?" And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And thankfully, they were just 10 minutes away.
hey.
That's
And we come to our
okay.
last image here.
Yeah. So that's like one of the prettier things that we make.
Right.
It's a customized box
Right.
that the inner partitions of that are removable. So if you can use the box, mostly when we make products, we make it multi use.
Right.
So there's just this box and that space where that pattern is, where that gold design is. That's where a company could put their logo as well. We've
Right.
left that space in the die so that if we need to do branding on the box, that would be the space where the logo would come.
Right.
And yeah,
This is our
yeah.
next image.
So that's the lantern that I was telling you about, where we filled a black room full of 100 of those lanterns.
Right.
It was a very simple construction, a little plastic tube at the base,
Right.
and we just folded translucent paper, put a print on it, put lamps in it, and there you go. And
Awesome.
then ever since we've become lantern maker of Cochin.
Right. So with that, we come to the end of that segment, and we have a final quick segment that we are running a bit short on time, but I would love to
Okay.
quickly go through that segment. We have a couple of questions lined up on the rapid fire round, so I'll just read out the first question for you, and maybe you can take 5-10 seconds to answer that. So the first question is: describe your organization in 2 words.
Resilient.
Okay. Next question
Oh,
is
that's
one.
only one word, right?
That's okay. Less than
Okay.
2 words, maybe. But the next one is one thing you'd like
Okay.
to tell your 21-year-old self.
Um, not, I mean, there are many battles to be had in life. Choose the ones that are worth it.
Okay. Name one startup or company you wish you co-founded.
I can't answer that.
Okay, we'll skip to.
Difficult one. I'm happy with the one I didn't even intend to start this one, Jibin.
Right,
How can
right.
I even want to be somebody
Absolutely,
else?
absolutely. Your favorite book?
Tales from the Faraway Tree.
Okay. What's
I'm a
the
mom. I'm a mom of three.
right?
See, let me explain why Tales from the Faraway Tree. Because it's full of magic, and I feel the world is full of magic.
Okay,
And it's all in your imagination to make it happen. That's how we make our products. It's our imagination to make it happen.
right. Okay. So the next one is, what's the best piece of advice that you've received?
That I've received.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice that I've received.
Correct. Yes.
It's probably post-COVID, or while lockdown was happening, in our Women Entrepreneur Network at WEN, we had invited Mr. Balagopal of Terumo Penpal.
Right.
We had invited him for a sort of a talk, and he had given us a few pointers, some really good pieces of advice. Now that this corona is changing the world as we know it, especially the business world as we know it, he gave us some advice. He said, if you have if you want to if you have to downsize, don't be emotional about it in this post corona time. Just steel your heart and just do it. And for the next few months, don't look at very high profits. Just think of surviving. Just think of just rolling it till for a few months, and then see where you want to go from there. It's one of the best pieces of advice I've got with after all these webinars of people telling us what to do and predicting the future when even they don't know what's going to happen. This I thought was a very sane and mature piece of advice.
Okay. So the final question is: if you were stranded on an island, what two things would you want with you? Basically, two things that you can't live without.
Can I have Wi-Fi and my iPhone?
Cool. So with that, we come to the end. With that, we come to the end of our rapid fire
Okay.
session as
So
well.
one second. One second.
Go ahead.
Can I just rephrase that?
I know.
If
Go
I was
ahead.
stranded on an island, my iPhone with Wi-Fi in it and my Bible.
Okay.
God has always been the foundation of everything we do, and I feel He's led us from victory to victory, from step to step to step. He's always given options, and He's always taken us through. That's always something I say, and I also want to tell all the entrepreneurs that are listening to this: make sure you spend 1 hour with God every day. That's the key to your success.
Right. So with that, we come to the end of the rapid fire segment. One final ask before we, end the segment. Can you recommend one, founder or one someone that you would like to see a chat like this that we could bring on? Either, if you can recommend someone like that, the best thing, or someone that you would like to see a chat like this. Could be anyone within your network or someone that you would like to see a chat, a conversation like this.
Mr. Balagopal,
Okay.
Mr. Balagopal Chandrasekhar of Terumo Penpal. He's retired from
Right.
Terumo Penpal, but still, I, I would recommend him because he speaks a lot of sense.
Awesome. Great, Divya. Thanks a lot. It has been an amazing chat. Thanks a lot for being on the I2E Knowledge Series. Thanks a lot for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure having the show. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you as well, Bibin, and I hope there'll be some people benefiting from this.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.